All right, well, all right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to the live stream. Thanks for joining us today. Um, so we're going to first talk about the situation around Taiwan, which I think is very important to understand, and then we're going to do a little bit of Q&A and chat on the way. Cool. So let me go to here. So you might have seen my latest video, which I talked about how there is like a congressional chaos in Taiwan. But more importantly, something that's happening right now is the Chinese military drill, which is basically they planned this out before the inauguration of the new president of Taiwan. But it just so happens to be 3 days after he was inaugurated that they did this. And so the United States and other countries have been quite concerned about the military drill for the precise reason that they're actually encroaching on Taiwan's sovereignty airspace and just kind of median line and border boundaries. And what they're doing is a salami slicing technique, which basically saying we keep kind of cutting down on the piece of the salami until it gets to the point where it's gone, but you don't realize it, right? Kind of like boiling frog. This is the statement from the United States. They're deeply concerned about the situation with military drill, and they're closely monitoring. Now, obviously, I'll tell you right now, Beijing's not going to invade Taiwan right away, but I just think it's kind of crazy. Hello, everybody, welcome. That they are doing this. So take a look at this photo. Not this one. This one here. Guyver, thank you for the $2. Thank you so much. I will unironically pray for your safety. Thank you. So take a look at this graph here, or picture. The gray is what was happening in the last exercise. Actually, no, this is 2022 versus the new one. So what they've done is they basically tried to do what's called a blockade on Taiwan. And by doing so, they want to capture like the outer islands here, like these ones. And then all of the red zones are the current one, which they didn't happen to do last time. Basically, if China were to take Taiwan by force, they're going to come first for those 4 outer islands, and then they're going to start to take the inner ones, including this. And if you take a look at the dash lines here, these are the Taiwanese median lines. And so the PRC has basically crossed it in various regions. Like this is new. And this part is also new. See how the difference here? This was 2022, and they've done this. Now 2024, 2 years later, they're moving closer and closer. And by the way, the eastern side of Taiwan, they're all mountainous region mostly, so it's hard for them to land. But along the western side, this part, they're all seaports and beaches, so they can actually land there. And you see the wider sort of area coverage that they're doing now too. It's very targeted. It's very focused. So they've used both the ships and the planes to do the exercise, and what they're calling is the joint sword exercise. It basically is a blockade scenario. So what they want to do, Ian Slater, thank you for the $2. What they want to do is they want to block Taiwan from outside access, right? So because most of the ports are on the, like I said, on the western side of Taiwan, what they can do is they can just block the access of Taiwan, so ships coming in and out, and they will be able to stop those ports from operating, essentially starving Taiwan, right? So after a certain period for the blockade, you can no longer, like you basically break the willpower for people on Taiwan and they'll surrender. That's the scenario. But what was happening is, interestingly, and I thought this is hilarious, the Taiwanese Ministry of Defense released 2 pieces of the footages captured from its F-16 sniper pods. So these are the F-16 jets, and they've been able to lock on what I assume is a missile lock onto 2 of the J-16 fighter jet and the H-6 bomber. So basically, this is like such a slap in the face, right? Like the damage is obviously pretty low. Goober, thanks for the €2. Is that euro? I don't know what is that, or is that francs? But thank you for the $2. Glory to the ROC and stable buildings. Yeah. And I think this is super embarrassing for the PLA, by the way. Just the fact that their jets are being traced by Taiwan. So like technology wise, obviously I think the United States provides Taiwan a lot of the more cutting edge technology. to defend itself. But this is, I personally think the first, like she mentioned, is the first time they've released such video. So it's not like Taiwan is just sitting duck, you know, that they actually have the ability to defend themselves, and which I find hilarious because we always think that the PLA, you know, the Chinese Communist Party, they're going to be doing so much better. Oh, pounds. I'm clearly really good with the currency symbols. So, and then the other side of this is protest. So basically, if you haven't seen my latest video, go watch it. What the CCP has been done is they have, you know, these pro-communist China forces within Taiwan. A majority of them are in the party of the KMT, which is the Blue Party, and they've tried to pass this massive legislation through something called a reform. From Jorge. Oh, somebody's at the door. I don't know who it is. I don't think it's for me. Jorge says, thanks for, I don't know what, again, this is CLP 10,000. My gosh, who is that? Give me a sec, sorry. CCP is making risky moves. Look at how Hoyoverse is opening a Genshin Academy. Looks like another CCP propaganda front. Totally sus. Confirms your past suspicions. Thanks, Jorge. I don't know what that currency is, but thanks again for that. What if it's like don't open the door? What if it's an assassin? Yeah, exactly. Umao's at the door. Okay, so anyways, let's continue, right? Let me look at this one here. Why is this? I don't want this person's head here. Let me try it. Okay, maybe I'll refresh. Oops, that's not it. So this was yesterday. About 100,000 people basically showed up on the streets. Always Ian for the $10. Thank you so much. That the reform does so much, right? It wants to increase and expand the power of the legislative body. It wants to have the judicial and power, inspection power. It wants to be able to say that, like, basically lay charges for people to say that they've committed contempt of Congress. Like there's no measurements to what exactly is contempt of Congress, right? For example, if you were subpoenaed to the Taiwanese legislature, and you laughed or you didn't respond well to something, then the lawmakers can say that you've committed contempt to Congress, and then it's like, okay, but did you really? So just some of this stuff, right? And then they basically tried to undermine the entire democratic process, and so this was the brawl that really started everything. Back in last 2014, it was when there was the sunflower movement, right? It basically was like a similar situation where they were trying to pass this set of reform bills, and it led to all those people in the sunflower movement, basically young people coming out and protesting this. So the same thing happened this time, and you see just lawmakers brawling it out. I thought originally it was pretty funny that they're doing this, but it's actually a pretty serious thing that they've done. Chu Ananda says, Taiwanese here, our mandatory military service has been extended to 1 year because of the looming Chinese threat. Yeah, Taiwan has really, they're running out of time. 2027 is rapidly approaching, and I think it's, Taiwanese people need to be more alert of not just the military side of things, but also, of course, the internal side of things. Anyway, so what's happening now is on next Tuesday, which is the 28th, I believe, they're going to try to pass the other parts of this so-called reform bill. Jorge, thanks again for the donation. Says, sorry, meant to say at the beginning that the CCP is making tricky moves, referring to the map you showed. Oh, CLP is around 900 equals $1 US. Jorge, thanks again for the donation. 2014, yeah, 10 years ago, exactly. So it's a decade since the sunflower movement. And now we're getting basically the exact same thing, trying to be pushed through. So let me show you this actually. It's from CNA, I believe. CNA and or CNA. This one. Okay, so this was also again from the video yesterday, but I just wanted to highlight this again. This gentleman, his name is Yuan Hongbing. He's a Chinese writer that has been, he now lives in Australia. I don't know how come the translation doesn't work. There we go. Okay, so he basically revealed that, this was back in February that he already revealed, China basically wanted to use the KMT's power in the legislative yuan to achieve the purpose of United Front, causing a political turmoil. So what that basically means is, think of it like you have, United Front basically means your enemy's enemy is my friend, right? If their collective goal is to undermine the power of the sitting party in Taiwan, which is the Democratic Progressive Party, then the CCP says, hey, KMT, we should ally together. And they're trying to create that, back in like the Chinese war against Japan, the CCP and the KMT, they were allied together twice in what was called the Nationalist Party and the Communist Party partnership, twice, okay? And after those two alliances and partnerships, they're now trying to do the third one for a different enemy. This time not against Japan, but against the ruling party of Taiwan, which is DPP. And so I was just kind of like mad at the fact that they're really willing to undermine the entire democratic process in Taiwan to achieve their goal of gaining power. And that obviously falls into the trap of the Chinese Communist Party because they want to build it into, as Yuan Hongbing here says, the vanguard, the KMT, so Kuomintang, into the vanguard of the Communist Army in Taiwan. And so the goal is to achieve the unified cooperation internally and externally, right? And you're basically playing into the CCP's hands. Now, one last piece of information before we end this part is this guy. I've talked about him a few times before. His name is Wang Huning. He is the Politburo member who is responsible for political agenda, political makeup, theoretical stuff. But his most important role right now, according to Xi Jinping's direction, is to complete the United Front work of Taiwan, to basically infiltrate Taiwan from within. Now, if you remember, this guy is also the guy who wrote this book called America Against America. America Against America is a book that came out after Wang Huning toured America, and he came to a few conclusions. And through his study of of America, through his time in America, he basically came out with some of the flaws that this system has, right? So the democratic system, the republic system, whatever you want to call it, the constitutional republic, or just in general democracies, right? He finds that he calls all of these type of systems an open society. Now, an open society, contrary to an authoritarian society, which is what China is, you have basically the open versus closed, right? So it's asymmetrical when it comes to this type of warfare, which is called gray zone warfare. So basically, whatever the things that China wants to do to America, wants to do to Taiwan, there's no direct measures against it, right? So for example, if you try to, say, send fentanyl to China, it's going to get shut down immediately, right? Because the authoritarian system will immediately block it. But the opposite is not true, because if you try to send fentanyl to the United States, it's an open society. You're being read like a book. Now, you could say that this is a shortcoming or a negative side of democratic systems, which is that everything is open. But also, I think that's a positive side, because you can, there's obviously freedom, there's elections, there's democratic processes. But what's happening in America right now, right? The CCP with all of its drugs, fentanyl, the propaganda with TikTok, infiltration, all these things. The same thing happens in Taiwan on a different scale, because that's their priority target. But this guy is responsible for all of the things that we're witnessing right now in Taiwan, as well as in the United States. Destiny says, what's happening? Just got in here. We're talking about what's happening around Taiwan recently. Demon says, I'm trying to look more into politics around Taiwan. Yeah, you should. It's very important because, especially if you're an American or if you are part of the Western world that needs technology, if Taiwan falls, we're going to be set back technological-wise at least 10 to 20 or even 30 years because chips will not be able to be produced. And Taiwan's just so far ahead of producing chips, right? That's just one of the reasons. Strategically, obviously, there's a lot of things as well. KCMD says, isn't U.S. making more bases in the Philippines? Would that help deter any Chinese invasion of Taiwan? It definitely will. And I think that's a really important thing that the Philippines is now a strategic partner in this defense of Taiwan. Obviously, there's a bullying aspect from China that has caused it. You know, Philippines 5 years ago was not the same Philippines we're seeing today. The Filipino government under Duterte versus Marcos Jr. is also very different. So when I was in, this was back when I was in college, right? Duterte was still in power. I always thought that he was more like the Trump type of, like this very nationalistic, pro-Philippines politician. It turns out to not be the case because, during the election, Marcos Jr., for me, he was seen as supposedly a very far left candidate. But when it comes to the entire idea of defending against the Chinese aggression, you're seeing Marcos Jr. doing much better. And it turns out Duterte is not doing so well in that aspect. Okay, all right. So let's do a little bit of Q&A. Did you guys? So I posted this challenge for naming 100 Asians, and I saw some really funny ones. So maybe we can. I literally could not name 100 Asians if I tried to. Wait, let me go to here. By the way, get your friends to subscribe to the channel. We're almost getting closer to that 1 million subs. It would be nice to hit it before the end of the month, but I think it will have to be next month. So here is the Name 100 Asian challenge. This guy actually got to 100 Asians, even though I know only like 20 of them in this entire show. Grandmaster B says, I truly hope CCP leaves his hands off of Taiwan, but I think it's going to happen sooner or later. I hope the U.S. intervenes. Yeah, the U.S. will definitely intervene. There's no question about it. All right, so if you cannot name more than, like, I can maybe name 12 of them, but if you can name less than 25, you hate Asians. But in my opinion, I really agree with this guy. If you can name less than 5, it's minus 250 social credit scores. A lot of these are just not real people, like Something Wong, Wu Ti Lo, Holy, Bang Ding Ao. I don't know any of these people. And then this one's pretty funny. It's just first name, a bunch of Nguyen's. Kevin Nguyen. Padisuro Maritani says, will Japan help the U.S. to defend Taiwan? Yes. Japan and the United States, and I would say largely to the extent Australia, are going to be the key. The Philippines is, obviously they don't have the military power, but they have the strategic locations. But the main sort of, force will be Japan and the United States, and some extent Australia. Saint Ricardo says technically Felipe Reyes can be an Asian name. That's true. KCMD says, do you know if South Korea is taking any stance regarding the China-Taiwan issue, or would they be too focused on watching North Korea? I think honestly, North Korea is a bigger problem because when China does invade Taiwan, North Korea is going to be activated as this distractor, right? So if South Korea can even just be the factor that deters North Korea, that's enough for Taiwan. And South Korea is a arms exporter, right? So they do have a lot of support that they can provide. Like they can sell arms to Taiwan, they can provide supplies. They have U.S. bases there, so again, location-wise, it's pretty good. Karate asks, what is the real reason they want Taiwan? They do realize that the island will be barren after war. It's all about location, and for the CCP, it's about. So they always claim that this idea of Taiwan is like the last piece of the puzzle for the great legacy of the Chinese Communist Party, right? Something that Xi Jinping personally sees very, very importantly because it would solidify his achievement. Because that's something that even Mao Zedong could not do, take Taiwan. It's really not about the idea of Taiwan, like the people on there, but it's about the piece of land that would provide them this like almost like a nationalistic achievement that they can brag on about for the rest of their legacy. It's also about the strategic location that it opens up the first island chain. So take a look at this map here. This map is pretty good at telling us what exactly is going on here. So you actually would. This might be a better one. Okay, so this is the first island chain, basically from Japan to Taiwan to the Philippines down to Brunei. When you take Taiwan, you basically cut off the first island chain. So now Chinese naval forces can access the ocean from the Bashi Channel here with the Philippines, from up here. It can like directly pressure the Philippine Sea and largely pressure U.S. bases in Guam, the islands here, Palau, all of these islands, and that would project China's naval power overseas into the western part of the Pacific Ocean. And so countries like Japan, South Korea, the Philippines, Australia will be under tremendous pressure to succumb to Chinese Communist Party influence. Otherwise, they could face the same thing, right? Because when Taiwan falls, the next target is Japan. China will take Japan if Taiwan falls, right? That's why the Japanese are so eager to defend themselves against against China, sorry. Adam Allen says, why can't we just have peace? I just want to watch my Dragon Ball and be left alone. Yeah, everybody wants it, right? Demon asks, what about the money they're going to bleed out of the citizens? Well, Chinese people's livelihood don't really matter, so it's not like the CCP cares about that much. Alpha says, bro, I like your geopolitical analysis. Thank you. On a scale from nothing ever happens to Ramirez defend the Burger Town, how cooked are we? I would say that in between. I would say like 50% from nothing ever happens to, like, you won't ever have to pick up your arms and defend against like a PLA invasion of the Los Angeles or San Francisco or something like that, or New York City. So I don't think we need to worry about that too much. But you should be worried because, so here's a lot of things that matters to especially Americans, right? Is that the war may not be on American soil, but it's in a place such as Taiwan that has so much long-term repercussions if America does not step in. If Taiwan falls, right, you're seeing the entire half of Asia basically becoming part of the CCP's uh, terror or their like force control. What that means is Japan will be forced to move away from the United States. The Philippines forced to move away from the United States. Australia forced away. Vietnam, all these countries, even India, is going to be affected. What that does is going to further decrease the United States' ability to be the world's like leading country in the sense that it's going to maintain the international order, maintaining peace, and it's going to destroy the credibility of a country that has long served as like the world police in the sense that they're supposed to keep the geopolitical regions around the world away from long-term conflicts. Now, obviously, there is the whole idea of what about Iraq? What about Afghanistan? What about like the all the wars that the United States has been involved in, and perhaps we can even argue that have unsuccessfully done so in especially in the Middle East. Well, that's very different because those do not directly affect the, I guess you would say the more of the American power projection around the world or American influence around the world, but Taiwan does affect that long term wise. Matthew Chang says, what are we talking about here? We're just talking about some points about Taiwan and how important it is. Mike, hi, I'm 29, Asian guy, no girlfriend, no job, no house, no direction in life, but I got 350,000 US dollars and 20K car. Do you think I'm a loser? I don't think you're a loser. I think you can just save more money, maybe do some investments and you know, get yourself ahead in life. I think you're far from a loser if you have $350,000 saved and a $20,000 car. Little Oil asks, what have you been talking about so far? We've just been talking about stuff around Taiwan. Broken49502 says, do you like the idea of a NATO-style alliance among Asian countries to counter China's aggression in the region, but this alliance must exclude the United States or any Western nation? We're already seeing this type of stuff happening, but they're not really like a NATO-esque, every country has to be involved. They're very like a loosely spread out alliance in the form of bilateral military security pacts, such as one from, say, Japan to the Philippines, Japan, South Korea to Taiwan, U.S. to Japan, U.S. to Philippines, these sort of bilateral ties, U.S. to Korea. The second part of the question is, must exclude the U.S. or any other Western nation? I don't think it should exclude, but you should see this as sort of, Japan is, because the United States is still far from the rest of those countries, so Japan really serves as sort of the front of the United States power in the region. Simon Silence asks, what I am more concerned about is Taiwan being a distraction and the CCP pushing a massive attack on South Korea through North Korea's vast underground logistical network. I think, in my view, Kim Jong-un is not as dumb as people think he is. I think he's more rational to be the scapegoat of like a Chinese Communist Party conflict, right? I don't think they want to be the, what would you call that, like cannon fodders. May says, hello David, I love your channel, thank you. Newt says, let's say hypothetically the three gorgeous dams destroyed, how cooked would China be? I think there'll be like a flood around the area. Why is Arunachal in China in this map? I have no idea. I think, so at this point, I don't think China is capable of a military invasion. I think their military is too corrupt, and their readiness, at least at this point, is not prepared enough for them to warrant invasion. This isn't to say they will try, but I think they're still going to try more for that other way, right, which is to corrupt Taiwan from within. Saint Ricardo asks, how difficult would it be to try to invade Taiwan? Russia is having a hard time. They're literally right beside each other. China and Taiwan are separate by water. Yeah, so I would say the difficulty is tremendous for China, but it's not something that's impossible. And they've been practicing this invasion, right? Yeah, there was like I was reading some crazy stuff saying how like obviously this is just crazy talk, but they're saying if Russia wasn't pushed like alienated by the West and they were actually allies, like there's like a hypothetical scenario that Russia could kind of pressure China from the top, India from the West, and then kind of the rest from Taiwan. But that's obviously not going to be the case anymore. If you guys have just joined and you haven't seen this, this is like the capability stuff I was talking about. So this is Taiwan's military of defense, or sorry, not military of defense, Ministry of Defense releasing for the first time ever their lock-on footage of two Chinese jets. One is the J-16 fighter jet, the other one is the H-6 bomber. And this is done through their F-16 jets, which they got from the United States. So it shows you that Taiwan's capability is not to be undermined, and it's going to be very hard for the PLA to do anything, in my view. May asks, is Taiwan actually Chinese ethnicity? I read a paper by a Taiwanese woman that this is false. So Taiwan's original population, like if you're talking about the natives on the island of Taiwan or Formosa, those are just Aboriginal, like they're native people, right, of Taiwan. The people, the majority of the people that kind of started to populate the island are from mainland China because they came with the KMT after they were defeated on the mainland. And so throughout, generations of people growing up in Taiwan, at certain points you kind of realize like you're not really Chinese anymore. Kind of think of like if a bunch of British people came to America and had kids for like 3-4 generations. Those people are Americans more than British, right? Yeah, Renier says China doesn't have enough ship transports at this time to be able to launch a successful invasion of Taiwan. If, like I said, if China really does want to do the invasion method, it's going to be the largest scale of military movement that we've probably ever seen since the end of World War II, simply because we haven't had such large conflict happen since the end of World War II. Like we're talking, there's going to be 100,000 forces trying to cross a volatile body of water to get across to do a landing. At the same time, jets are going to be flying across to try to gain air superiority, and then you're going to have missiles flying around from both sides. So and this is probably the first ever case of modern warfare that we're going to see where drones will be used, aircraft carriers versus aircraft carriers. You're going to have actual fighter jets like going at it against each other, right? It's probably the first time we'll ever see something that's not an asymmetrical warfare. Like if you really think about it, in the Middle East, everything that's happened right now is an asymmetrical type of warfare because one side clearly has less technology, less firepower than the other side. In Ukraine, same thing. Obviously, there's Western supplies of arms and jets, tanks, etc. going there, but it's not a full-scale conflict because we haven't reached that part yet because Russia has not launched a full-scale invasion. But with Taiwan, like China has to do a full-scale invasion if they really want to go that route. Rainier says, even 300 ships won't cut it. China should learn from the fate of Russian Baltic Sea Fleet, which is getting battered by the Ukrainians. Yeah, like drones, honestly, like I think the new age of warfare is going to be drones. Like anybody that's seen any sort of near future film on warfare knows that drones, robots are going to be the new age of warfare. Xenon says, I'm concerned about the Taiwan government. Do you think CCP will gain control within their government? That's where, like, that's the scary part. Is I think that's a really important question. Is that they would try to rather take Taiwan from within, where they will have a bunch of people who are sympathizers of the like pro-China stance, right? That will kind of make legislations that will move and corrupt the entire democratic system and make it further and further like Hong Kong. And because if you really think about the case with Hong Kong, it didn't happen overnight. It happened through 2-3 decades of electing lawmakers, electing people who are pro-China, and then they slowly kind of decayed the defenses of this democratic system piece by piece. New laws, new people in power, and then by the time 2019 rolls around, people were like, "Oh my God, it's already too late," because people were like, obviously we can't fight against this government in Beijing because they're much bigger than us. Let's just give them an inch, right? But the CCP is like, if you give me an inch, I'll pull you out a feet or a foot of stuff, or 2-3 feet of stuff out of that 1 inch, right? So it's like you give one piece of concession, they turn it into 100. And by the time it's people realizing it's already too late. And that's the case of Hong Kong. That might be the case of Taiwan if people don't wake up. Saint Ricardo says, "New one, get to the top of Burger Town." Yeah, take out the chopper. Silrion says, "Will China launch a first strike against Americans on Okinawa before they invade?" If they do that, then the entire thing just goes to shiz, because like now you're asking for an entire Pacific War. So I don't think America will also do a first strike on Chinese targets unless China acts first. That's a problem I have with this, right? China basically has the first strike on Taiwan because as an American, you cannot attack China first because then you become aggressor. Grandmaster says, "Would you say it's stupid? Russia did launch a full-scale invasion, but is not capable to swallow Ukraine. Many countries support Ukraine to stay free, but they don't do enough." No, well, like, depending on what you mean by a full-scale invasion, like, yes, they did invade Ukraine. They almost got to Kiev, but it's not like they immobilized the entire country to, like, all of their forces to do that. Because otherwise, like, that would be called a full-scale war, but they're trying to say that it's just a special military operation. Landry says, "Any update on Xi's health?" He's clearly suffering from some problems. I'll show you this. This was from... Let's see if I can find something.
Chinese President Xi Jinping.
That's not the version.
That he hoped.
There was a version of his... Oh, yeah, this one. So this is Xi getting out of the car. And look at his feet. Like, there's something wrong with the way that he walks. He's, like, limping a little bit. So I was talking to some people. Apparently he has some problems with one of his organs. I can't remember which. That causes him to walk like that. He's a little bit limpy. Mario Joe, do you think USA is capable of supporting Ukraine and Taiwan at once? I personally don't think so. If that's what Xi Jinping wants, is to divide the resources of the United States to support both Ukraine and Taiwan. Realistically, I just don't think there is enough. Lich King says, arthritis possible. Chu Ananda says, what's the U.S. citizens' view on U.S. intervention in Taiwan? Would the U.S. citizens protest like the time of Vietnamese War? It's really tough to say. I feel like people realize the importance of Taiwan, But the issue is, would China mobilize some people like those groups that are doing like the Palestinian protest against like Taiwan? It's hard to say. Jempel Yang says, do you know the 3 days which the U.S. is the weakest? The next cycle is in 2025, depending on this November. Yeah, so this presidential election could determine China's next move. 2025 is actually a dangerous period. I was always saying that like this year and beginning of next year, we could see something. Jonathan Lancer says maybe he has diabetes. Could be too. But I always feel like the diets of these people are pretty strict, right? Or maybe she just doesn't listen. He just likes to indulge. El Buki says, I'm Chinese and I approve this live stream. Thank you. Yo, David, would you say that the majority of Chinese citizens want reunification by any means necessary, or do the majority of them not support physical altercation? The CCP is doing everything they can to make it so that citizens in China support the reunification. There was let's see here. So there was a message recently, like this was happened, this must have been, 23rd, so 2 days ago. The state media puts out this poster that says unification. And they are forcing every Taiwanese celebrity in China to retweet this, saying that the road of Taiwan independence is a dead end, that the country will unify and nothing can stop it, right? So that's the message that's sent out. Now, obviously, you have all of the Chinese celebrities here retweeting it because, they want to continue to work in China. This is a list of Taiwanese celebrities. Some of them, I don't know if it's been updated or not, but some of them have already retweeted, like this person and where's the other person? And apparently on this list, only one of them. Okay, but possibly more. And then you have people who basically did like graphs for all of the Taiwanese people who have done this or not. Like this is like a witch hunting now. And obviously, yeah, so if you don't retweet, you can probably be blacklisted in China for not retweeting this. And so your future in Chinese entertainment could be gone. You could be blacklisted. You also have, let's see if there's other ones. Yeah, so, and these are all like Chinese people online asking them to retweet and then saying things like Taiwan independence is a dead end, blah 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 blah. More of these, like they're all asking these celebrities. So the sentiment of unification with Taiwan is very high in China. Demon asks, would Taiwan have enough time to protect themselves? Hopefully they have. Roko says, there's no reunification, don't use their propaganda wording. I'm just translating what's being said here. I don't agree with that word. Gunnar the Great, what military strategies do you think Taiwan should use against West Taiwan? First, strike on their coastal targets, preferably airports, missile silos. You want medium-range missiles and surface to ship missiles, buying a large quantity, more like artillery. I think they've done extensive preparation for this, like moving all of their critical assets into the mountains and stuff. So it's hard to become targets of airstrikes and things like that. Justin Thompson says, I don't think Americans like myself would protest against action to defend Taiwan. We have a duty to protect our interests and our allies. China taking Taiwan will be bad, not just for the U.S., but Japan. So I agree with that sentiment, right? But the thing is, like, to what degree would you argue that the amount of casualties, like, clearly men and women in America are going to be on the front line defending Taiwan. So at what level of casualty will the United States be like, we can bear, right? The lives of men and women, service members in America. And then, like, what is the limit, right? Because if the war really drags on, like, the casualties are going to explode. China clearly doesn't care how many people it dies, but Americans do, right? So it's that's why I'm saying this is like a really, really messed up situation, because you do go to war, you risk losing lives of thousands, 10,000s. We don't know the numbers. Matt says, I'm using VPN. China is definitely not as bad as people say. David is not wrong about everything, but he definitely pushes propaganda of his own. Yeah, I'm like literally CIA propaganda. Matt says, some of the reports he makes has no merit. Which ones? Little Oil says, I wonder if they have some sort of submarine drones. They might have. I haven't read about anything like that. Mr. Benetti says, I just find it crazy over the reuniting thing. A thing that was almost a century ago that people just can't move on. Yeah, exactly. Karate says, include the lives lost because TSMC chips are not available. It will be an international disaster. Yeah, once the war breaks out, Taiwan is going to be the crucial part, because they're going to shut down the TSMC chips production. And so the global shortage of chips is going to be devastating. But also, it's, if TSMC ends up getting blown up because of necessary steps to protect Taiwan's, technological process, well, then we'll be saying goodbye to technology for a very long time. Clint McDowell says, found your channel recently, almost 1 million. Early grass, thank you. NK asks, or says, the problem with other countries getting involved, like USA, in the Taiwan conflict is that it could lead to a world war. It's really complicated. It is very complicated. But I think at the end of the day, decisions have to be made at that point if people want to live in a world where the CCP's world order vision is the one that dominates, or the one that continues to work throughout our lives, or even the next few generations, be that one of the United States-led world order. I think that's really the fundamental decision we have to make. Yan Bridono says, I just arrived. Can you explain the whole Taiwan, West Taiwan thing? So basically, Taiwan is Taiwan, right? But because the CCP always says that Taiwan is part of China, a lot of people online started to call China West Taiwan, because it's like, technically the party that's on Taiwan ruled China before the CCP. So it's like, we could kind of call it West Taiwan. So it's a meme. It's supposed to kind of go against the CCP's claim. Corvus Korak says, isn't Taiwan building factories to make chips in the US? Yeah, but they're not going to be ready. And from what I'm hearing, they're not that effective. Because, from the people that went to Taiwan this year, and when they came back, they had a tour of TSMC. And they were saying how the reason why Taiwan can do things so much better is because there's a combination of, Western technology, Taiwanese sort of precision, and a combination of something else I can't remember, but it's a very unique combination that really only Taiwan has right now. Sir God says, it's too damn early for geopolitics. I'll be back after my cat vids. Go enjoy your cat videos. See you soon. Some record master asks, do you think China would have a chance against the US? I really don't think so. But it doesn't mean they won't try. Like, they have, the nuclear threat, a lot of the other stuff, they're going to try. Dope Dorian asks, what are the chips for? Like powering your GPU, CPUs, computer chips, machineries, cutting edge like missiles, aerospace, calculations, supercomputers. Like a lot of things require chips. Where is Matt? Oh, let's see what he said. He said, I had some stuff that were Evergrande and the Ping An are small scenarios in the big scale of Chinese economy too. You overstate the impact of it. I don't really know if that's overstating the impact, because China real estate, after rounds of just this year, we're talking like May, end of May, rounds of attempts to try to save the real estate economy, Evergrande has basically, it's done. Read up on Evergrande. It filed for bankruptcy. It's over, and it's one of like the biggest real estate developers. And after 5 months, just this year, I'm not even talking about 2023, just this year, after like 2-3 rounds of Chinese policies to try to save the economy, look what happens. It still has not recovered. This is not something that's being overstated. China's real estate is dead, and it's going to stay dead for the near future. I would say at least 5 years ahead. Karate, you're right. And also the thing about chips is not just Taiwan, right? It's not just TSMC. It's ASML in Holland, in the Netherlands. It's the United States. You have companies like NVIDIA, Apple. It's a combination of many different factors. But they all require the TSMC fabs because, like the production, because of just how good they're at doing it, and they perfected it for so long. Xiu Li says Taiwan should be the 51st state of the United States. Oh my God, that would cause a massive outcry in China. Sasha Safari says, I lived in China in and out for 20 years. Everything you report is pretty accurate. Thanks for that. China should just stick to producing galvanized steel, square steels, and wood veneers. I love watching these videos. I don't know if you guys seen them. Little John and his galvanized steel. These are hilarious.
Water. Attach a circle of anti-collision soft padding next to the bed to ensure safety while sleeping. A movable table over the bed serves both as a workspace and a dining table, making it very convenient for eating, studying, and working by the window. The table can also be stood up to save space. This is the design of the coffin room. Compact but fully functional, ensuring every home comfort is included, however small the space. Let's transform the 1 square meter coffin room into a fully function house. After 10 years of hard work, poor and single, Little John finally saved enough money to buy a house in New York. But it's less than 2 square meters, too small to even fit a coffin. Now he's decided to spend all his remaining savings to redesign it like this. Firstly, install row frames to create a bay window using fishbone patterns that can be pulled out for sleeping. A custom foldable mattress turns it into a comfortable bed that even if his girlfriend visits in the future, they can both sleep there. It stacks up, saving space when not in use. A large floor-to-ceiling floor-to-ceiling wardrobe is essential. Below it, a large suitcase filled with nostalgic items plays hymns, with a special place in the middle to highlight these memories. A dust-proof glass cabinet door keeps everything clean and visible. Use wooden boards against the wall as barriers, and install a...
Honestly, I find some of them, like, as meme, like, the possibility for memes is it's there, but I find they're actually pretty interesting. Like, I really enjoy home design videos. Karate says the design is very human. Lich King says, right, but where to take a bath. Some of them show you like the bath toilet combo.
Setup can be used at tile
Let's see.
create bed area and use large tiles on the wall. Be bold and carve a slot into the floor to embed a straight urinal topped with folding layers. Place an induction cooker on these layers to create a simple kitchen.
You can cook, take a dump, and shower all at the same place. In case I said that the David's Face Club is only getting the small picture-in-picture, it should be the other way around. This is a what's it called? This is a political education channel, not a influencer channel. Go says, do you watch Mandarin commentators like Tara Shen or Wen Zhao? I do sometimes. Not Dead Yet says, I've lived in both China and Taiwan for many years. I love your work, bro. Thanks for keeping the world informed. Thanks for watching.
Above, install it underneath. Fold up the shelves to transform the space.
I told you, you can shower, you can cook, and you can poop all in the same little area. This is hilarious.
Into a bathroom in seconds. Little John can take a shower and use the toilet after work. Install a sand blocker outside to complete Little John's $1 million mansion transformation. Remodeling a coffin house for
Landry's asks, is this real? No, it's not.
a family of 3. Little Trump, who works hard every day moving bricks, finally saved enough money to replace his small room with one twice as big. He quickly brought his wife and children over, but the room was still as small as a coffin. The 3 of them could only sleep stacked on top of each other, so little Trump decided to reinstall it like this. He made cabinets against the wall, added 2 horizontal panels, and used circles of galvanized square steel as frames inside and outside the cabinet. He copied this setup for the lower layer and borrowed some screws from his aunt to securely attach it to the wall. Both of it were covered with eco-friendly wood veneers. He placed a soft folding mattress on top to create a comfortable bed. Little Trump's bed is on the upper level. He folds it up when not in use, while his wife and son sleep on the lower bed, which they fold down at night. This setup leaves a spacious aisle where his son can comfortably run. The windowsill double.
My favorite part about this is like the kid and all the other characters running through walls, like they just don't, physics and reality doesn't exist.
As a countertop made of wood veneers and extends into a foldable desktop. When needed, it pulls up to set up a long bench, turning into a large desk with a computer. It's perfect for little Trump to work overtime from home and aim for a bigger house. This setup also serves as a dining table for the family and can be folded down to save space when not in use. Little Trump installed a set of large wardrobes above.
Mangowski PH says, what do you think of Zhou Zuyu? Zhou Zuyu. Oh yeah, she was the Taiwanese idol from Korea that got like shamed into doing an apology video back in like 2015 or 2016. It was absolutely crazy. So that's a clear demonstration to you of what the Chinese Communist Party is like. They can't even afford to let a person be Taiwanese. Like I'm pretty sure her apology video was done when she was like 15 or something, or 16, or she was underage. I'm pretty sure she was, and she was forced to like apologize for this, for saying for holding a Taiwanese flag basically. And then she has to comply with the pressure and demands of China, saying that, oh yeah, like in her video, she was like Taiwan is a country. Let's see if I can find it and watch it.
大家好，我是周子瑜。对不起，本应该早些出来道歉，因为不知道如何面对现在的情况，一直不敢直接面对大家，所以现在才站出来。中国只有一个，海峡两岸是一体的。我始终为自己是一个中国人而感到骄傲。我作为一个中国人，在国外活动时，由于言行上的过失，对公司、对两岸网友的情感造成了伤害，我感到非常非常的抱歉，也很愧疚。我决定终止目前中国一切的活动，认真反省，再次的向大家道歉，对不起。
It's so crazy because I like it honestly like shocked the world at that time, especially like in the Chinese community, because and this was, what was this, 2016 or something? Like she's a little girl at the time, and she's forced to do this just because of like fragility of the Chinese Communist Party, right? Yeah, another forced confession. It looks like a hostage video. It was. It's absolutely crazy. I'm sure she's doing better now. It looks like she hasn't had to apologize again. Always wearing turtleneck sweaters. Why is that? I don't know. Grandmaster asks, "Hey David, do you think Tibet will ever be free again?" I don't know. I think it would take some dramatic changes in China before Tibet can change, like be free again. Lich King says, "Man, there are things I want to say, but YouTube won't allow those words." Yeah. Fixing Neat X says, "Where do you live? Where do you live? Not China." I don't live in China, no. Yan Bridono says she sounds like she has a gun to her head. Yeah. It's pretty crazy. Alright, I think I'm going to end the stream here. I'm going to go get some lunch, and hopefully you guys will enjoy the nice sunny weekend here. It's extremely hot, and we'll see you next week. So I'm always going to be doing the live stream on Saturday around 12 p.m. So hopefully to join us. We'll do some different stuff every time. Hopefully by next week, maybe we'll hit 1 million. So if you're not subscribed yet, make sure to subscribe and get your friends to do it too. If we haven't hit 1 million, well, we'll see you next week after that. So yeah, all right. I'll see you guys. Have a good one.